I'll go here.
Does your school have a problem with bullying? How well do you know your students? Do you think bullying is inevitable? That it's a normal part of growing up?
Back. There you go.
Something
There you go.
you
Perfect.
experienced when you were young?
Tracy will be falling asleep back here.
Well, bullying is a learned behavior. It's not normal, socially acceptable, nor inevitable. We adults have the ability to change this behavior. Our misconceptions about bullying can lead to more severe problems, such as vandalism, stealing, alcohol and drugs, and violent crimes. And that's just on the part of bullies. Targets of bullying can become so distraught and feel so helpless that they become depressed and withdrawn. These effects can last years and carry into adulthood. Bullying affects the total social environment of a school, creating a climate of fear among students and inhibiting their learning ability. However, when schools send a message that bullying behavior is not tolerated and work actively to create a welcoming and positive atmosphere school-wide, they can significantly reduce the effects of bullying. This involves all school personnel, students, and parents. It involves raising awareness about bullying, improving peer relationships, building positive staff-student relationships, modeling respectful behavior for students, intervening to stop intimidation, developing clear rules against bullying behavior, supporting bystanders, and supporting and protecting targets. This program will explain what bullying is and why students are reluctant to report it. The program will also outline how to detect bullying and how to intervene. You'll see how to deal with students involved in these situations, as well as how to work with their parents. But most importantly, you will learn that prevention works. Commitment to a plan for consistent school-wide education and intervention will reduce the severity of the problem in your school and community.
Problem is that it doesn't continue.
Bullying is defined as the deliberate and repeated infliction of physical, verbal, or emotional abuse intended to harm others. Bullying takes many forms and can include many different behaviors. Physical bullying includes hitting, kicking, spitting, pushing, taking money or personal belongings. Verbal bullying includes taunting, malicious teasing, name-calling, and making threats. Emotional or social bullying involves spreading rumors, manipulating social relationships, or engaging in social exclusion, extortion, or intimidation. Technology has brought us cyberbullying, which is another form of emotional or social bullying. This involves sending insults and threats via emails, instant messaging, chat rooms, and text messaging, as well as posting hateful comments or embarrassing pictures on websites and online diaries or blogs. Males tend to bully and are bullied more frequently than females. Their most common methods are physical and verbal. For females, the most common behavior is verbal and emotional bullying, such as tattling, rumors, or exclusion. Bullying generally begins in the elementary grades, peaks in 6th through 8th grade, and persists into high school. Most bullying takes place in and around school and is often witnessed by peers. In half of these cases, peers reinforce the bullying just by watching or by laughing. In only 1 out of 4 cases does anyone step up to help the target. Bullying is not about anger. It's not about a conflict. It's about power, control, and feelings of contempt towards someone considered inferior or undeserving of respect. Bullying scares and embarrasses the targets. The targets may feel as if they brought the torment on themselves, especially if no one acts to stop it. Its effects are overwhelming and pervasive, and are linked to poor school performance, low self-esteem, and depression.
Even suicide.
The first step in any school is assessing existing policies, belief systems, and the extent of the problem. They may need to be updated to include restructuring the school environment to reduce opportunities and rewards for bullying and to make consequences more consistent. providing better supervision of students and opportunities to develop stronger interpersonal and problem-solving skills, integrating curriculum-based anti-bullying programs into each classroom, or changing school policies regarding harassment with mobile and internet technologies. Just as bullying is a learned behavior developed over a long period of time, so are the cultural beliefs about bullying. Interventions that seek to change behaviors take planning and time, too.
Tracy's gonna be worn out by the time this is done.
I'm sure if somebody smarter would figure out how it just automatically works.
How will you know if the student is being bullied? He or she probably will not tell you or any other adult. Most targets feel ashamed of being victimized, think adults can't or won't help solve the problem. They've been threatened with retaliation if they do tell, or they have become convinced that telling is tattling. So most times we adults have to figure it out ourselves before it's too late. Do this by looking for behavioral signs and by trusting your instincts. First, identifying bullies. Students who bully their peers often control others through physical or verbal threats, lack empathy, focus on angry thoughts, perceived grievances, and hold on to resentment and frustration. Students who bully are more likely than non-bullying peers to live in homes where there is a lack of parental warmth, involvement, supervision, overly permissive and inconsistent parenting, harsh physical discipline. Bullies may also be a group of students who are simply engaged in mean behavior. They may be popular, socially adept, and powerful. These are often females who engage in social ostracism and technological bullying. Other signs may include a decreasing interest in school and an increasing bonding with other students of similar personality traits. Targets of bullying may display symptoms that should make you suspicious something's wrong. These include missing or incomplete schoolwork, decreased success in class, unexplained bruises and injuries or stories that don't add up, reluctance to go to school, lowered self-esteem, frequent visits to the school nurse or office complaining of feeling sick, lack of interest in attending social events that include other students. Remember, never accept bullying as inevitable. Bullying behavior is the responsibility of the bully, not the student being bullied. Parents of bullies and targets must be contacted immediately about all situations. When parents are involved early, the problems can be resolved quicker. Explain to parents what the school's concerns are and how working together to gain an understanding of the problem is crucial. This is where having built a prior relationship with parents helps tremendously. Communication is much easier when there's a level of trust already formed. Always be supportive and non-judgmental and ready to explain the school's plans for monitoring and resolving the situation. When talking with parents of victimized students, be prepared for an emotional exchange that may include anger, frustration, anxiety, the need for retribution, and demanding that the school do more. Acknowledge their concerns and worries. Tell them what the consequences were for the bully and what measures are being taken to support and protect the student. Ask for input and suggest things they can do to help the situation, such as not to overreact, but to be a good listener. Suggest they give the student plenty of time to tell them how he or she feels. Suggest that the parents not encourage the student to fight back because it could make the problem worse. Suggest ways the student could be protected. For example, if it occurs on the way to or from school, find a safe route and arrange for an older student companion. And point out the places they can go for help. Ask the parents to let you know about other incidents and to keep a written record of them and who was involved. And lastly, offer to update the parents routinely and settle on a set schedule for doing so. When talking with parents of bullies, be prepared for denial, aggression, lack of concern, or helplessness. It is hard for any parent to hear that his or her child is a bully. Maintain an even tone and find positive things to say about the student. Listen and do not argue with parents. State the school's position, consequences of bullying, and plans for monitoring the situation. Ask for input in working together to solve the problem. For example, suggest the parents make it clear to the student that they won't tolerate this kind of behavior and discuss the impact bullying has on targets. Parents may also impose age-appropriate, nonviolent consequences at home. Gently suggest the parents increase their supervision of the student's activities and whereabouts, spend more time with the student, and set reasonable rules for his or her activities. Also, suggest the student not watch violent television shows or play violent video games or witness violence between members of his or her family. These situations can increase violent and aggressive behavior in students. Explain the importance of responsible internet use at home and suggest parents create clear rules against certain kinds of computer activity. Let parents know the importance of praising the efforts the student makes toward nonviolent and responsible behavior, as well as following home and school rules. And offer to help with referrals to psychologists, social workers, or the mental health center in their community if they need outside support. Lastly, establish a schedule when you will update the parents on the student's progress, as you did with the parents of the target. Yes, eliminating bullying will take more time, effort, and strategizing than reprimanding a student on the playground. But bullying can become more serious than a student teasing another one about the way he or she dresses. You need to take it seriously and intervene. Knowledge, commitment to change, and a plan that involves all staff, students, and parents will greatly reduce the incidence of bullying and create a safer environment to learn and grow.
There were some important points in here I wanted to kind of go over. Acknowledging that some of these things obviously are not going to be, you're not going to be involved in some of those roles. I would not expect you guys to try to take on and do educate and counsel parents on how to properly handle either of the situation. That's the job of the administrator. Your role is simply to monitor the bus, make sure that students are getting to school and getting home safely. And intervening if somebody's misbehaving or somebody's mistreating. Recognizing signs of bullying on your bus. And doing as much as you can to prevent. For example, if you do recognize that somebody is having somebody targeting them or bullying them, reporting that to the administration, and then making sure that you're putting them in a safe place on your bus, so that the bully and the other student doesn't have access to that person when you are attending to your driving. So a lot of that's just location on the bus, being observant when they're coming on and off the bus, and those types of things. The one that I did want to talk a little bit about, bullying is a very difficult thing as an administrator to deal with. One of the most difficult things I've ever had to deal with, because there's such a fine line and a gray area. One of the things that people want to talk about, and I think they even said, parents are upset and they're angry. Bullying isn't student conflict. You have kids that sometimes don't get along very well, and they want to say that's bullying. But bullying is when one student has power over another student. It's not just conflict. Kids have conflicts all the time. Conflict resolution is something I hope we're teaching, because as adults, we all have conflicts. So bullying is one-way behavior, power over another student. And the other thing is, I wanted to we have bullying online. Our policy is online. If that's something that you're interested in or concerned about on your bus, that would be a place to go. There's also, if people are uncomfortable reporting to their principal, there's an online bullying forum. I got one about a week ago from a parent who self-reported their child was being bullied. I took that to the principal, and we have a set standard of things you have to do in the situation when official bullying report is filed. So that's another avenue. for those students. It's a very serious thing, nothing any student should have to go through, it's something we take very seriously. We wanna make sure that you're just keeping an eye out for those students on the bus, so other kids aren't taking advantage of them. Okay? All right. Second one, it's a little older video for some of us that were hanging out in the 70s. It looks like it might have been from that era. I don't know, you'll be able to tell because of the hair and the clothes. So if you recognize yourself in that, I'm sorry.
Deja vu, huh?
Might be.
I recognize the test pattern.
Good one, John.
This one is drivers or teachers too, just about educating students about safety rules and how to behave on your bus. And there's your disco.
There we go. Where's the ball? Yeah, could be. Have to have an interpreter.
Think it's a mess?
Never can tell. Oh, I gotta put that. I just moved it. This is very on camera.
Next to parents, the people most concerned with the safety of students on school buses are those who are responsible for transporting them. The one who should be especially concerned with student safety on the bus is you, the driver behind the wheel. Part of your responsibility as a professional bus driver is to teach your students to be safe passengers and also to encourage pedestrian safety. Before you teach your passengers, let's look at the three basic components of school bus safety. They are you, your bus, and your passengers. Let's begin with you. How do you feel about yourself and your chosen career as a professional school bus driver? One important issue is self-confidence, which means confidence in your driving skills and your ability to do your job. Another is good self-esteem, which means pride in yourself, in your job, and in taking safety seriously. Are you obeying the rules, such as having the appropriate driver's license, attending pre-service in-service training as required, and having a current physical examination on file? And finally, being knowledgeable about your bus and its safety features and limitations is important. Now let's get to know your vehicle. School buses are the safest form of ground transportation. Statistics show they are 7 times safer than the family car. For one reason, a school bus weighs approximately 5 times more than a car. So odds are, in the event of a collision, the bus would sustain less damage. Also, passengers sit well above what is called the impact line. On buses, passengers don't have windshields, dashboards, and a steering wheel to impact with like people riding in cars do. Also, large buses don't have doors that might fly open in the event of a crash. In recent years, buses have been designed to provide compartmentalized protection for passengers. That means seat frames and the floors they attach to have been strengthened. Seats have been moved closer together. The height of the seat backs has increased, and the metal seat frames have been replaced with padded seats that cushion an impact. Each seat is actually a protected compartment in itself in the event of a crash or sudden stops. Most buses are equipped with other safety features you should be aware of, including a special 8-light system for loading and unloading safety, a swing-out stop sign arm to warn motorists to stop and wait, handrails for passengers to grab onto as they go up the steps, special protection for the gas tank to reduce the chance of fire in the event of a collision, and a roof structure designed to enhance overall body strength and to help prevent collapse in the event of a rollover.
It is also important for you to be knowledgeable about alternative emergency exits like windows, windshields, or roof hatches. Fatality statistics during recent years indicate that school buses are becoming safer all the time. Comprehensive passenger education programs will help decrease those fatality statistics even more. Students must be instructed that it's their responsibility to learn and obey the bus safety rules, to always obey you, to let you know ahead of time if they know they won't be riding the bus, and to report to you any damage on the bus. Now let's talk about how students learn. Everyone has their own individual learning style. Basically, people learn through different senses. 20 to 30% of the school-aged population remember what they hear. They are auditory learners. 40% recall what they see or read. They are visual learners. 30% must write or use their fingers in a manipulative way to help them remember basic information. They are kinesthetic or tactual learners. Some students need a combination of styles. For auditory learners, try using blackboards. Say it as you write it, or use flashcards. Have students talk through their ideas, answers, and solutions. Encourage the use of music, songs, and poetry in your class. Allow time for debates, word games, charades, tutorials, seminars, and group assignments. For visual learners, try using books with pictures like a safety coloring book or other safety
Not sure you're gonna have
booklets.
time to do that
Allow
while you're
students to
driving.
design
Yeah, sure.
and prepare safety handouts. Use safety-related puzzles or games. Allow students to explain using a diagram or chart. Use films, videos, slides, or other visual media. Encourage safety projects or safety posters. Have students create their own crossword puzzles. This is an especially good project for older students. Encourage illustrated essays, scrapbooks, or sketchbooks. Try using maps, globes, models, or photos. Packaged computer programs also work well with visual learners. With kinesthetic or tactual learners, try using materials that encourage interaction and materials that can be touched or handled. Encourage some body movement in class by using word games, role-playing, pantomime, charades, or group assignments. Invite guest speakers from the community, such as law enforcement officials. Encourage examples that draw on real-life experiences. Use subject-related games, puzzles, and kits. And allow these students to help you set up equipment, materials, and demonstrations. It is also important to know your students as passengers and to learn the art of managing behavior. You may have to drive students within a variety of age groups. When you address students, speak firmly, slowly, confidently, and clearly. Tell students what you want them to do in a positive way, not what you don't want them to do. Keep rules simple and to the point. Children often have short attention spans, so be aware that you may have to keep reminding students of key rules. Don't forget to praise students for good behavior. Positive verbal reinforcement is especially effective with younger students. Do treat all students with respect. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Never threaten a student. For example, never tell a student you will take action which is unrealistic or impossible. Instead of this,
If you don't sit down, if you don't behave and keep your hands to yourself, I'm gonna break your arm.
Oh, crap. Ah, Chihuahua.
Got their attention.
Gilbert, I ask you to sit down now and behave now, and I want you to behave, okay? Okay, thank you.
never involve your passengers in your personal problems. Bus safety for students falls into 6 categories: before they leave home, walking to the bus, waiting at the bus stop, boarding the bus, as passengers in transit while riding the bus, and leaving the bus. Students must be told to leave home early enough to arrive at the bus stop 5 minutes ahead of schedule. They must be ready and waiting when the bus arrives. Passengers need to know that they must be on time since the bus runs on a schedule. Inform them that you will not be able to wait for students not at the loading area. Students need to know their route number, their bus number, and the name of your bus company, as well as their pickup time. Students should be reminded to wear light-colored clothing while walking to the bus stop on dark winter mornings. They must also be told to use the sidewalks or walking paths whenever possible. If there are no sidewalks, they should always walk facing traffic. This means use the left-hand side of the road so they can see and be seen. Remind students to walk in single file as far from the edge of the road as possible. They must also respect other people's property and not litter. Teach students how to properly cross the street by looking to the left for oncoming cars, looking to the right, and then crossing in a straight line to the other side of the street. When at the bus stop, students should wait quietly away from the edge of the road so they don't get hurt. Unnecessary horseplay can result in injuries. Remind students to let the bus come to a complete stop. When the bus arrives, they must always walk, never run to the bus. They should walk single file, lining up with younger students at the front of the line. When boarding the bus, they should use the handrails to help them keep their balance and walk up the steps one at a time. On board, students must take their seats promptly. Once the bus begins to move, teach them the importance of being considerate passengers and to practice good manners. For example, students must sit quietly in the seat until the trip is over and the bus has come to a complete stop. Talk softly. Visiting with a neighbor is fine as long as it is done quietly. Get permission from the driver before opening a window. They should not lean against windows, should not stick or throw anything out a window, and should keep arms and legs out of the aisle. They need to put belongings where they can't slide or fall, and never put them on the edge of a seat or in the aisle. Ask them to bring school books and supplies in a backpack that can be conveniently stowed under the seat. This is because a sudden stop could send things flying into somebody. Teach your students to pick up any trash or papers. Garbage on the floor could cause someone to fall. Pets should be left at home. They do not belong on the bus. Large objects which block the aisle are also not allowed on the bus. And there should be no talking to you while you are driving, unless it is an emergency. You need to keep your mind on the road. Not talking to you while driving is especially important when the bus is approaching a railroad crossing. No talking at all is the rule, which applies to everyone on the bus. This is important so noise does not distract you or prevent you from hearing an approaching train. Many deaths or injuries in school bus-related accidents occur outside the bus, usually during loading or unloading. A large percentage of accidents occur when students are hit by the bus they were riding. Others are killed or injured by motorists who fail to stop for school buses that are loading or unloading passengers. Students should be made aware that the two most dangerous zones around a school bus are the area around the front of the bus and the area around the right rear wheel. Students required to cross the road should walk a distance of 7 to 8 steps in front of the bus before starting to cross. They should not cross until they have checked traffic and you have indicated it is safe to cross. In addition to warning students about the danger areas around a bus, you should give them the following tips for safety. When waiting for a school bus, stay a safe distance from the roadway. Wait in a straight line, no pushing or horseplay, and walk to the bus only when the door is open. When boarding the bus, students should use the handrail and take seats promptly. Before crossing in front of a school bus, drivers should instruct students to walk 7 or more steps in front of the bus to cross, because the driver must be able to see the students from head to toe. When crossing in front of the bus, students should stop at the edge of the bus, look left and right, look at the driver for a signal to cross, and keep watching for traffic as they walk. During the bus ride each day, it is important to practice good manners. Students should sit quietly, keeping their arms and legs out of the aisle, and their belongings safely stowed beneath the seat. They should not talk to you unless it is an emergency. Once the bus arrives at school, students should stay seated until the bus comes to a complete stop and you tell them when to leave. Ask students to make sure they have everything they brought with them and tell them to double check if they haven't left papers, jackets, or trash in their seat. Students should line up on the way out and use the front door unless you tell them otherwise. They should let those closest to the front of the bus off first. It's faster than everyone trying to get off at once. Students should use the handrail going up and down the steps to protect themselves from slipping or tripping. They should be instructed not to jump to the curb. Instead, they should step to the pavement if unable to step across to the sidewalk. Tell them to move away from the bus door quickly and to stay clear of the wheels. Students should not go after anything that rolls or falls underneath the bus, but instead tell you about it. Tell them to never reach back into the bus through open windows. Have a plan prepared in the event of an emergency that you have discussed and practiced with your students. Should an emergency situation arise, students should know to stay calm. They should stay in their seats until you give them instructions as to what to do. They should know not to move around without thinking. Students should also be instructed not to touch emergency equipment or safety releases until told to do so by you or an assistant. If it becomes necessary to use an emergency door, students should know not to crowd. Those closest to the door go first. They should sit down and then exit. They should keep their hands free. All belongings should be left on the bus. Once outside the door, students should get away from the exit so others can get out. And remember to always be firm but fair. Be patient but persistent. Be reasonable but consistent when dealing with students. By becoming knowledgeable about your bus and its safety features and equipment, by having confidence in your own skills and abilities as a professional driver, and by being able to share safety tips that inform your passengers of their responsibilities, you will help secure the continued well-being of everyone on board your school bus and establish good safety habits as part of the daily routine. Now here's some tips for preparing your presentation. Your personal appearance is very important. You might consider wearing the school colors. Show confidence in yourself and your subjects. Put your name up where students can see it. Be courteous when answering students' questions. Try to understand why a question is being asked. Greet students in a casual manner and give them a little time to settle in. Use humor, lots of smiles, and positive body language. Support your message with visuals, handouts, and positive reinforcement. Be prepared to involve your students in activities, such as going out to your bus, letting them sit in your seat, role-playing what they would do in a driver's situation, etc. Also involve them in developing your bus rules and explain the importance of having assigned seats. And most important, send students an overall message that you care about them. They should understand why safety is important and realize why you need them as partners in safety.